Hello, I'm Michael Emery. This video is specifically designed for the Put Off Procrastination app. I thought it would be very helpful to review submodalities and their underlying impact upon your procrastination state, and also their potential impact upon your end outcome state. Now, this video will take only a few minutes to review, but it's an invaluable practice that will greatly improve your level of self-awareness. As you know, your perception is your reality in terms of what you strive to achieve. Let's begin. Submodalities are a critical component to understanding the way that you perceive the world around you. There are 5 representational systems, and you probably know them as your 5 senses: visual, auditory, kinesthetic, olfactory, and gustatory. In this video, for the Put Off Procrastination app, we will focus on the first 3 rep systems: visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Submodalities are the way that you distinguish between similar experiences and different experiences. It is the way that you can differentiate between what you like and what you dislike. Keep in mind that the focus of submodalities is upon the context, not the content. These are the distinctions of your internal representation. Remember this. Let's begin with the visual representational system. Here you can see images of a sunset surrounding a compass. The images are of various sizes to distinguish distance. Whether you consciously realize this or not, when you imagine or remember an experience that happens in the form of mental imagery, it will be encoded into your mind and body in different locations based upon the way that it is being associated. For example, the face of someone you like is most likely stored in a different location than the face of someone you dislike. Go ahead and try that. This is all happening in your mind, so pay attention to your internal representation. Next, we have perceptual positions, and we'll only focus upon the first and second person perceptual positions. The dissociated picture in the example could be of a woman remembering her trip to Machu Picchu, and in her memory, she can see herself in the picture. Now, you and I could probably both agree that it is impossible to physically see yourself doing something. Yet in our minds, we do this all the time, and it is called dissociation. Dissociation is powerful because it turns down emotional experience and causes a sensation that people relate to as being on autopilot or out of their body, because there are no bodily sensations. On the other hand, the associated image is like the woman recalling her trip to Machu Picchu and seeing in her mind the ruins from a lifelike first-person perspective. This is more realistic because it usually is accompanied with in-the-body kinesthetic sensations. The next visual submodality is framed or panoramic. A visual representation that is framed is typically less powerful than a panoramic image or mental movie. If there's something that you want to do but it seems overwhelming or too detailed, try to envision it as a black and white scenario. This might simplify things. Next is the size of the picture. Bigger pictures are typically more powerful than smaller pictures. The intensity of color is important because brighter pictures are often more powerful than faded colors. Another component that often comes into play is the focus. Is the focus of the image on the entire image or just a certain part of it? Now let's put all of this together. Let's say that there is something that you know needs to be done. It's overwhelming in your mind's eye, and for example, let's say that you have an image of a big desk in a bright, colorful picture. And on the desk, there's this massive, bigger-than-life stack of paperwork to complete. Try doing this. Imagine seeing yourself in the picture, dissociated, completing the paperwork in a small black and white framed image that is only focused upon your hand filling out the paperwork. And then move that picture so that it's actually behind you, back behind your head at a distance that feels indifferent. This is an application of changing submodalities. We did not change the content. We changed the context of the experience. Now let's address auditory submodalities. First, the sound could be in mono or stereo. It could come from one side of your head, the other, or both sides. It may use spatial distance, as this sounds different than this when I talk over here. Tonality is very important. Pay attention to tonality, especially when it involves procrastination. You might find that this is the time when your inner child raises its ornery head and tonality changes into a whiny voice saying something like, "I don't want to do this." And as an adult, you might find that it helps to change to a stern voice saying, "I'm going to do this now." Next, there's volume. Volume can be used in many different ways. A softer, slower voice might cause you to pay attention to what's being said, or a louder, more excited voice might say it's time to make things happen. Tempo might be associated with one of the stereotypical salespeople who has the machine gun delivery telling you every single thing that you want to hear so that they can make the sale. Pitch is important because a person's pitch of their voice changes under stress. For example, pitch might rise if somebody is frightened, or lower when relaxed. Next, cadence is important because it is an unconscious signal marking the characteristic rhythmic pattern that we know will return to a beginning point. Advertising often uses this when they create jingles that get stuck in our minds. Then there are inflections. Typically, a question will have an inflection that goes up at the end of the sentence, right? And a command will go down at the end of a sentence, doesn't it? And if you noticed, I phrased both of those sentences to get an unconscious yes response, using the form of questions, but one was a command because of my tonality. Pauses give your unconscious mind time. Process information. Uniqueness is remembered in accents, or just an individual's unique way of speaking. Duration is important because some people are remembered for their ability to drone on and on and on, like Charlie Brown's teacher, and others say short, memorable things that have a lasting impact. Internal and external is the difference between hearing a voice within your head in the form of imagining it or recalling it, and remembering or imagining an experience in which someone was talking to you and you're hearing that person's voice as you would in a normal conversation. Both scenarios are in your head, but they typically have different attributes. Usually, that is, one includes the speaker and the other excludes the speaker but keeps the voice. Let's apply this really quickly. Think of a situation in which you would have procrastinated and notice that there's something negative you'd hear or say to yourself, like, I don't want to, or I can't. Then change the submodalities of this so you can hear yourself saying something very positive and motivating with a powerful pitch and a repetitive cadence using a tonality that's in the form of a command like, I can do this now. I can do this now. I can do this now. Lastly, let's explore kinesthetic submodalities. There's a location, like specifically where you feel a sensation in your body. Feelings typically have a shape and a size, if you pay attention. I'm sure that you can remember a situation in which you were put on the spot, and then all of a sudden you flushed and your face felt hot. Feelings can have a temperature. You might find that you get a chill down your back, feeling both movement and temperature. Or you might feel texture as you can remember eating something that you really enjoyed. Feelings vibrate, as in the form of butterflies in your stomach, shakiness in your legs, or your heart starting to beat quickly. Feelings can also have a duration and be steady or intermittent. Feelings also might have an intensity that you could probably measure on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being very weak or non-existent, and 10 being overwhelmingly strong. And lastly, feelings can have degrees of weight or lightness. Now, this is just an overview of some of the possible submodalities. There are many more than this, but these are the most common ones I could think of associated with procrastination. The real importance of this practice is to pay attention to what you're experiencing within your internal representation. Remember, these are all the associations that are being perceived from the world about you and processed inside your mind-body. Inside your mind and body, anything is possible, and this is demonstrated by your ability to change your internal representations to create empowering experiences. The point of all of this is that you are in control. If something is causing you to feel what you don't like or what is disempowering, then you have the ability and the responsibility to change it so that you process and experience in a way that empowers you to do what is important in life. This is all about you reclaiming your personal power. Be amazing.